Welcome to Talk Sport on Global Television, and indeed the African Cup of Nations is on fire. As yesterday, we had a very big upset yesterday where the Brave Warriors, the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia, 1-0 yesterday. It was a very exciting encounter at the ongoing African Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire, and your Super Eagles did play a week ago, barely some 5 days ago, where they played out a 1-1 draw with Guinea-Bissau, and hopefully in their next encounter with Equatorial Guinea, we hope they will be able to get as regards getting things rolling at the African Cup of Nations. So hopefully we'll be showing a video of Tunisia taking on Namibia. So we're in the course of the program where the Carthage Eagles, against all odds, were beaten by the Brave Warriors of Namibia. Also yesterday we had the Stallions of Burkina Faso win their encounter. Mali also did goes to nothing. Talking about the Eagles of Mali beating the Bafana Bafana of South Africa. Bafana Bafana, for you to know, nickname of the South national team at the ongoing African Cup of Nations. Also, some big stories concerning the man called Jose Mourinho, who was sacked yesterday by AS Roma. Thierry Mourinho was holding back tears when the fans of Roma were saying goodbye to him after his sack yesterday. These and other important stories is what we'll be looking at on today's edition of Talk Sport. And also, hopefully, we'll have Coach Christian Obeko join us live from Lagos, where he's airbound to Cote d'Ivoire to cover the African Cup of Nations. Hopefully, he'll be giving us some feedback as regards what's playing out in Cote d'Ivoire. All right, we'll go for a very quick break here. When we return, the program continues. Stay with us. Looking at what happened at the African Cup of Nations, where we told you that Namibia sealed their first ever win at the African Cup of Nations on Tuesday night with a huge shock win over the 2004 champions, talking about the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia. The Brave Warriors are currently ranked 115th in world football by FIFA and have never won a game at the tournament, despite 3 entries into the competition proper in their history. And so, however, their first game of the 2023 edition proved to be a history-making one with former international Colin Benjamin overseeing the maiden victory in their dramatic circumstances where they beat Tunisia, with the clash heading into a drab 0-0 draw. What would have been the first of the tournament for the first time, writing Didion Hoto of the Orlando Pirates came up with the goods to make it 3 massive points for the Brave Warriors of Namibia. And that was how this story was rewritten yesterday when Tunisia lost to the Brave Warriors of Namibia by 1-0. That's talking about the African Cup of Nations playing out, and it was a very massive one for the men in red against the men in white and red. Just to let you know that Betu Musu had only come off the bench 20 minutes earlier, but sent in a sublime cross from deep on the left flank, onto which Hoto charged before heading high into the roof of the goal at a very close range. Hoto made straight for the fans, leaping over the advertising board around the pitch and trying to get closer to supporters, followed by later teammates as Namibia got truly caught up in the moment of the victory against Tunisia. And that's a very big win. A very big win for Namibia over Tunisia. And that's history making them. So it tells you the 34th edition of the African Cup of Nations is definitely adding spice to history. First time Namibia winning that. All right, let's talk about the other man, Jose Mourinho, who is in the news for the reasons of the fact that he got sacked by AS Roma. Just to let you know that tearful Jose Mourinho was given a farewell by Roma fans. Talking about Jose Mourinho, who shouted a thank you to Jose Mourinho and took selfies with the Portuguese manager just hours after being sacked by the management of AS Roma. A teary-eyed Jose Mourinho has left Roma training ground with tears. The Portuguese manager was relieved of his duties with Serie A side and ninth on the league table, despite asking for a new contract. It comes after his club's American owners, and he left the fans fed up after receiving 5 red cards during his first time in charge. So you can imagine 5 red cards for Jose Mourinho was bad enough. All right, let's see if we can whet your appetite as regards bad enough. All right, let's see if we can whet your appetite as regards the action going on in the African Cup of Nations. Already the big story about Jose Mourinho leaving AS Roma, but we already know that the Rossi is already taking charge of AS Roma, ex-player of the club side, being already appointed the manager of AS Roma. All right, I think my producer has a video concerning Namibia. Okay, let's hopefully we'll get the video match between Namibia versus Tunisia at the African Cup of Nations that played out last night. All right, looking at hopefully we are supposed to be joined by Coach Chris Onokpeku, who is in Lagos right now, about boarding to Cote d'Ivoire for the African Cup of Nations. Hello, Coach Charles Onokpeku, are you there? Okay, the coach not still joining us via Zoom. Okay, we'll go for another quick break. Hopefully, when we're back from the break, we'll have a sports analyst join us via Zoom so that we can look more about the exciting edition of the African Cup of Nations and the massive 2 results that went on last night. All right, welcome back from the break. In Talk Sport, and we're still in ecstasy as regards the big matches that are going on at the African Cup of Nations. Yesterday we had a dose of some upset where the Brave Warriors of Namibia beat Tunisia, and we also have some stories, very interesting stories emanating from the Cup of Nations where football fans were left shocked after seeing former Fulham star Boubacar Kamara labelled AK-47 in Mauritania's lineup for the AFCON game. Mauritania released their team sheet ahead of their first game of the tournament against Burkina Faso on Tuesday, but it was Kamara's nickname included on the list that caused the stir. Kamara, who played for Fulham between 2017 and 2021, was picked to start the game as the captain of the team, but while other players were named. All right, I told you we were going to be joined by Anderson Oselbe, who was in the rest of the He's also a sports analyst, joining us via Zoom to look at some of stories making the rounds in the world of sport. Anderson, good morning. Nice to have you join us on Talk Sports.
Yeah, good morning. It's also nice joining Talk Sports
Yeah.
again this morning.
Yeah, sorry, fire brigade approach, like they'll say, the NFF will always do when getting the Super Eagles ready for tournament. Let's look at, I know your eyes are heavy from watching the big matches at the African Cup of Nations. How was it yesterday? We saw the brave warriors of Namibia stunning the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia yesterday, their first win in 3 African Cup of Nations finals.
Yes, yesterday recorded one of the shocks of the Nations Cup. I would want to say Namibia coming out of the blues and nicking a win against the Carthage Eagles is something that will be long spoken of. What we will just say is it that there's an improvement in African football? That's the smaller sides are beginning to pick up wins against the big sides? Or are we at a stage where we say the bigger teams have lost interest in the competition?
All right. Looking at the game yesterday, we could see there was so much fitness level from the Brave Warriors of Namibia. They were fit. They went for every tackle. They didn't give the North Africans that space to play their kind of football. And we saw they were also ball jugglers. They were not afraid to play with the ball out of their feet. They played like West African teams. Would you say that was what caught Tunisia napping, the fact that the Namibian team was very, very physical, very fit, and they were full of run-ins?
I want to say yes. I want to agree with you on that line because it looks like the Namibian side wanted it more. They gave in their best. They wanted it more. They were into the tackles. They were running. And if you look at it deeply, I think they even created more chances than the Tunisians. So for me, I feel it has come to a point where people who want the results more eventually are digging results by the day. So for going forward, I would expect that Tunisia would have seen what happened with Cape Verde and Ghana and should have been able to prepare adequately to face a physical side like that of the Namibians, that of the Namibians. But they wanted it more, they got it.
Okay, looking at the goal specifically, it looked like the Tunisian backline was caught off guard, and that ball was floated into the 18-yard box. Some said it looked a little bit of offside. Would you say that the backline was flat-footed, or it was just a case of the player who was very skillful from the flanks did a yeoman's job in getting that cross in, catching the backline napping?
You have to give credit to the player. That's exactly what it is. It's the player who did everything to deliver. And so more like it's something they would have practiced and put to fore and brought it to the big light.
Okay.
So kudos to the player.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. For the goal scorer, Hoto, we noticed that that ball, he actually went for it, and he had the calmness to put that ball in the roof of the goalpost. He plays for Orlando Pirates in South Africa. Can we say that difference of being a professional player came into being at that point where he had that chance? Some would have said if he was a home-based player, probably he would have lost his nerve and blown that ball.
Would you want to look at the overall approach the team had, right? Be it whoever, just like we said earlier, they wanted it more. That could have been the driving spirit that will push him into grabbing that goal. And if you remember, all through the match, he was always walking and placing himself at positions where he can get the goal, and he got it. So let's give it up to the player, whether if he's home-based or a professional playing in South Africa or thereabout. I just feel at that point, they were pressing and pushing for the goal, and eventually they got it.
Let's look at the Carthage Eagles. Would it be that they were underrated, the Brave Warriors of Namibia, or the Carthage Eagles are not the quality side we used to know of them, that who were good at keeping the ball, being very technical and physical, and the antics of the North African teams, we didn't see it come into play yesterday?
If you remember, it was this same Tunisian side that knocked the Eagles out of the last Nations Cup, if you remember vividly well, right? Now, coming against an African side that you feel their numbers is far back, as long as the ratings is concerned, that's the African team's ratings or the world ranking.
Okay.
It tells you whoever you're playing, whether Namibia, whatever team you're playing, with the way the tournament have come up, you would expect nobody looks at any team as a small team again. So we give it our best and play all the way through. So for me, the Tunisians didn't show enough courage playing against a team like Namibia, or they were caught snapping. But why would a team like Tunisia be caught snapping in the course of play, when you know this is the biggest stage, their biggest stage in African football? You don't expect any side that comes here has come to play, so they'll put in everything to grind out results, and that is exactly what the Namibians did yesterday.
All right, let's look at, I know this team is a team we both love in terms of whenever they are on the losing side. Let's talk about the Bafana, the boys. Yes, last night they faced the Eagles of Mali, and history had always said the Eagles of Mali never lost their first game, and South Africa, they were very confident they were going to beat the Eagles of Mali. Looking at the Eagles of Mali yesterday, beating South Africa by 2-0, was that expected?
Well, looking at the game, both halves, you discover that, yes, the South Africans lost the penalty, but overall, the Guineans had the game all through.
The Malians, right?
The Malians had the game all through, and they had better players. You just mentioned a while ago, talking about teams that play, players that play professionals outside these shores. The Malians had them. They have more players who, you know, who are key in their team, their respective teams they play for, unlike the South Africans. And it just looked like South Africa didn't come so prepared for this tournament. I don't know. This is not what I've always associated the South African football with. The flair was not so much there, and then their approach to the game for me was bad, and they just sold themselves short. And the Malians had their way all through. So it would have been, the result would have even been much more than the scoreline we eventually got yesterday.
Okay, as we look at AFCON review now, looking at that game, and we've seen the Malian team again and again during the AFCON Nations Cup coming strong, look like they're title contenders, but they fizzle out. Does this bulk of the Eagles of Mali feel like a team that might go for the trophy? They got Mbosuma of Tottenham and other great players in their squad. Does this team look like a team that could win AFCON 2024?
Well, we are still early days. This is still early days, I would say. Let's see, the second round of matches will be quick commences from tomorrow. We still have the Senegalese team to watch. So it's still early in the day to begin to project the Malians as a team that will come and nick the trophy. For me, I feel let's watch the game go by game. But all together, if I have to put the Malians as a likely team to win, they might be amongst the top teams, but I'm not sure Mali has all it takes to win the trophy.
What do you think is missing in the Malian team, based on what you saw yesterday? I thought they had great, they had mobility. They were faster than a normal Malian team we used to see. And they've got skilled players. And playing a team that is always stylish like the South African team. And they were able to dominate them. Don't you think they've got something that might push them towards the trophy? Can they beat Nigeria?
I think I want to toe a bit of the line with what you said. You said history has it that they've not lost their opening games, right?
Okay, good.
Also, history has it that they've not gone off the semifinals over the last how many of the year? I mean, 2013 they lost in the semifinals when it looked like they had all it takes to win the trophy. So for me, I feel history does not favor Mali to win this trophy.
All right, in terms of AFCON, as we continue AFCON 2024 review, what will be your analysis in terms of the officiating? Because yesterday in that match, for the first time, we saw VAR be called into action, and that was where the Bafana got their first penalty kick, even though I don't know if you have a reason why they lost that penalty, because there was no tension in the air.
Okay, let's take it from the officiating and then the VAR, which you made mention that brought that recalled for that action, and then a penalty was awarded. Well, the officiating for me has been fair. Our referees are a bit firm in their decisions, and so I think this is what you want in games. Coming to the South African Messi Pau that lost the penalty. One thing I looked, he looked too overconfident coming to the ball, and then just getting close to it, I think he slipped and then placed the ball over the bar. And so I think it was more with composure from this running point up to the point where he hits the ball. He was not fully composed to have taken that chance.
All right, well said, Messi Pau there for South Africa, blowing that ball, like we say, balloon the ball over the bar. All right, was that the turning point in that game for South Africa? Or do you think they were simply overwhelmed by the Eagles of Mali?
Well, immediately after the penalty, they also lost a very good chance to have scored. You get? But I just felt they were not that strong enough to withstand the arsenal that Mali had to offer, because even if they had scored, I think Mali had what it takes to come back into the game and even win.
All right, just hear you call Arsenal just means we should probably, we will not talk about Arsenal for now, but looking at Football African 2023 predictions, some predict that we're going to be seeing Ghana, Morocco in semifinals, Cote d'Ivoire, Algeria in the semifinals, Nigeria, Congo semifinals, Mali, Cameroon in semifinals, and somewhere along the line, it's going to be Nigeria, Cameroon playing the semifinals, while Cote d'Ivoire is going to face Ghana in the semifinals. While in the finals, it's going to be Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon. Third place match is going to be Ghana, Nigeria. Do you agree with these predictions?
If you look through the matches that have been played so far, do you think this will likely come up? No, that's a question we need to also ask, because from what we have currently, which of the teams are performing that will get up to this? Because what I'm saying is the knockout stages might pitch most of these big teams playing themselves, because with the trend of the results that we're having so far, right, would have these smaller nations either topping their groups, and then we have the so-called big nations that should actually have been really take. We'll find ourselves hitting ourselves in the second round or even the quarterfinal of the competition. So I don't see most of these predictions being run around.
Traditional teams like Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon will be able to add some spice to the African Cup of Nations. All right, I'm hoping my guest analyst, in the person of Anderson Osiobe, will be joining us still online so that we can look at other stories at the club side level. Anderson, are you back? All right, we hope he'll be joining us soon as we look at other big stories making the rounds in the exciting world of sport. And talking female football, just to let you know that Serena Wigman, that's talking about the Three Lions female national team coach, has been given a significant pay rise after signing a bumper new contract with England to put her off in line with the top earners. Yes, that's the woman there. But her deal is still somewhere short of Gareth Southgate's £5 million a year. England have given Serena Wigman a significant pay rise after the Lionesses manager extended her contract until 2027 on Tuesday. It was understood at last summer's World Cup, where England lost 1-0 to Spain in the final, that Wigman's salary was more than $400,000 a year. The United States announced in October that they had made outgoing Chelsea boss Emma Hales the highest paid female manager in the world, with a report claiming her contract will be worth £1.3 million a year. But just to let you know that Mail Sport understands that FA officials are confident that Wigman's new salary, which includes performance-related incentive, ranks in the top bracket as female coaches. Okay, that's one of the big stories we're looking at there. And but it looks like we've got Anderson back on track. Hello, Anderson. All right, we're still hoping Anderson would join us. Still looking at Wigman, will still be paid less than England men's manager, Gareth Southgate, though, who earns £5 million. But that's a good news for Wigman, who has got a new pay rise due to the new contract with the England national team, talking about the Lionesses, after a very good performance where they lost 1-0 to Spain at the European tournament. So Serena Wigman, congratulations for the new deal she has secured with the England national team, talking about the Lionesses of England. All right, let's run for a very quick break. When we return from this break, we'll be looking at other stories making the rounds and hopefully looking ahead for other matches that will be played at the Cup of Nations today. Stay with us. All right, welcome back from the break. Still talk sport on Global Television, and we're looking at AFCON 2024 and all the big stories making the rounds. All right, we still have Anderson Osiobe, who's a sports analyst,  in the building, helping us look at the big story. Anderson, nice to have you back. on track.
Yeah, thank you. It's
All
good
right,
to be back
let's
again.
a little bit away from AFCON before we look at the fixtures for today's matches. Let's quickly look at female football. We got Serena Wigman, the manager of the Lionesses of England, being awarded a new contract with a bumper pay rise. The fact that she's gotten a pay rise still means she's still not earning as much as the £5 million per year earned by Gareth Southgate. Do you think it's fair on the part of female football and male football that she's paid less than Gareth Southgate, who hasn't probably done as much as the female national team has done?
One thing we must understand, if we put this in the context of where it is happening, what's the wage bill like in England for, say, the main football? What do you earn? Can you compare the earnings that we get from, say, the English national team, you know, adverts and the rest? Can you compare it to what we get? I'm not advocating for, what do you call it, disparity in pay for coaches, female and male alike. You know, the female national team and the male national team.
But
The
the
male
last World
national
Cup
team,
showed that the female World Cup had more attendances, more viewership than any other tournament. Recently, the female World Cup and European Championship showed a massive rise.
but it's not. What I'm saying in essence is, listen, the English national team, the male English national team, right?
Okay.
There are contracts. The team earns, right? Is it the same value that the female national team gets in their own contract? Is it the same thing? The what net of the male national team and the what net of the female national team, are they the same? Those are some critical issues we need to look at before we begin to ask for a parity to be arranged in their pay. If we have a case wherein what the male national team generates is far higher, so it's only natural for them to get a little more paid higher than the female coaches, as this case may be.
All right, but let's extend that to Nigeria. Do you see a gulf of difference between the female national team, the Super Falcons, and the Three Lionesses, while the Super Falcons are not doing as well as the Lionesses?
That's bringing it home. It's the same thing. It's just like, okay, the female national team of Nigeria today, I'm not sure they earn as much as the male national team. Okay, we can use General, who earns close to $50,000 per month, right? Would you pay? Would you put him at parity with the female version?
Okay,
The
you're
female
talking
national.
about Victor Pizarro now in comparison.
Sorry. Yes, sorry. I was calling General.
Yeah.
I was calling Pesero and
Pizarro,
our
yes.
current female national coach. It's not at this, they are not at par, right? Now, it could owe up to the fact that if we're playing today, the male national team, the Nigerian national team, Super Eagles is playing today, the number of adverts you see will be higher than what you get when the female national team is playing. The number of attendance will be higher than the female national team. So these are some of the indices you have to look into when you're asking for parity in pay. So what I feel is much should be put in developing the female football generally, so that it will come at par with that of the male national team, instead of just advocating for parity in pay when the both sides don't bring in the same thing. Those are issues we need to look at.
All right, let's have wrap our conversation up with, I don't know if the fixtures for today's matches of AFCON is ready. My producer, Abel, I don't know if the AFCON fixtures for today is ready. But while we're waiting for that, let's quickly look at Jose Mourinho was sacked yesterday. And now we've got De Rossi being put in charge of the team. And De Rossi doesn't have that cognate experience in coaching. Do you think Roma is taking a big...
That culture and the team is picking up gradually. Now, De Rossi is a Roman inside out.
True.
The passion for the game. He understands the culture. He understands the people. He understands what they want. Now, this is somebody who played in the team and have the understanding of the team. With time, I believe he will deliver. The truth is, has Mourinho been able to take Roma beyond the 6th position in the league? No. Let's get somebody in.
He won the Conference Cup for them. Is that not an achievement? Roma before then had not won any trophy for many years.
Would you put the Conference League in the place of the Champions League?
Definitely no.
If given the choice. No. If given the choice, would you take... So these are things we also need to look at. With Roma as a team, these were the same side that knocked Barcelona out of the Champions League some years back, 3-4 seasons ago, right? What are we speaking about here? If Roma plays consecutively in the Champions League, in no time they'll begin to compete with the best in the whole of Europe. So with time, given the chance, I see De Rossi bringing Roma to what they so desire.
All right, thank you very much for your analysis of all these big stories we looked at on today's edition of the program. That's where we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program. And for your take for the Super Eagles, what do you expect in the fixtures for today? We've got Group F fixtures. We'll be looking at Morocco will be taking on Tanzania by 5 p.m. Nigerian time. We have the Red Devils of Congo. We'll be facing the
Chipololo.
Yes, thank you there. Just stuck there in my mouth. Of Zambia around 8 p.m. What's your expectation for those first fixtures? Do you think the Atlas Lions is going to have it their way against Tanzania?
We'll see. We've been served a lot of surprises in the AFCON. So let's hope for another round of surprise in this time out, because I will want to see the smaller teams, rise up and challenge the so-called superpowers in Africa football. Okay. So I look forward to an exciting time with the Tanzanians giving us something to also come back tomorrow and talk. Who knows, possibly I'll be in the studio tomorrow to give credence.
That would be amazing. All right. Let's look at the other fixture. We've got Zambia facing DR Congo. How big is this battle? Because we know these two sides are very creative. They are ball jugglers. They are die-hard teams. And these are two traditional teams in the African Cup of Nations, former Zaire.
Yes, Congo, DR, and Zambia. Well, let's see if they will live up to the billing of their names. Chipololo, the Chipololo has always been an entertaining side. True. The DR Congo also play with so much flair. It will be a beauty to watch. But my own take here will be, will they live up to expectations? I hope they do. So we're aiming for a big game.
If I put you on the spot, which team do you think is going to run our winners?
I want to root for the Chipololo to win the game.
All right, let's see the other fixtures quickly so that we can get your take on as regards the other matches today. I think those basically
Morocco.
Group F.
Yes.
Yeah.
Morocco, Tanzania. I want to see a surprise in that game. And then the DR Congo and Zambia. I am rooting for Zambia to win.
But wouldn't you be asking for too much when you know the Atlas Lions were the best African team at the last World Cup? Asking Tanzania to upstage the Atlas Lions?
Well, the Tunisians knocked Nigeria from the Nations Cup last time out, and Namibia, out of the blues, defeated them yesterday. Let the surprise continue. So it might give the neutrals to enjoy the competition.
All right, thank you very much. Always a pleasure talking to you and talking sports with XY goalkeeper. Just to let you know that I scored him 2 great goals. He can take that to the bank. All right. All right, he's a goalkeeper that is always yelling at his defenders. If you watch Andy Sinosobe in between the sticks, you're going to laugh because he's always very passionate about his defenders, always yelling instructions like Dodo Mayana we do in the past. Listen, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
A pleasure. Thank you for the time.
All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, that's how we call it a wrap on today's edition of the program Talk Sports. I want to say a big thank you to Zelayat, Abel, and Co. that helped ensure that this program came smoothly to you as we talk sports on global television. And we keep the coverage live as regards the 34th edition of African Cup of Nations. This is also to inform you that hopefully tonight or first thing tomorrow, we're going to be having reports live from Cote d'Ivoire. We've got our in-house analyst, the person of Coach Chris Odokweku, who, as this time, is on bound Cote d'Ivoire via Lagos to cover the African Cup of Nations. So he will be reporting live to us, giving us big stories happening in Cote d'Ivoire as we cover the 34th edition of the African Cup of Nations. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.